So welcome to the channel, it's your boy EO here. Every second counts and it depends on how you spend it. What are you spending it on? So today we're going to talk about why every second in Nairobi was so valuable for me and why I would never take it for granted. And I want to tell you guys to inspire you guys to make the move to Nairobi or to make the move to the African continent. So there were particular moments that impacted me to kind of change the way I behave and change the way I act. Like, I couldn't act the way I would act in the UK and expect to do the same thing in Nairobi. No, I can't do that because if I want to integrate myself in the culture, I need to be able to change my ways. For example, I'm Nigerian and I was brought up in a African household. So, in our culture, it's rude for someone to collect something, whether that be food or anything, from an elderly using their left hand. So, for example, if someone that has grown up in the UK for all their life, they're not used to it. They're not used to the African culture. So let's say that they go to Kenya or they go to Africa and they do the same thing, they, give something to someone using their left hand. If they do that in Africa, they're going to be seen as being disrespectful, not being polite, not showing respect. So yeah, sometimes you have to change the way you act when you go to different places. You can't expect to act the same way that you do in the UK or the US, and you can't expect it to work when you go to Africa or when you go to somewhere else. So I felt like, yeah, in order to learn and understand and value every single moment, I had to learn about the Kenyan culture. I had to do all these things to understand and actually acknowledge every single valuable moment that I had in Kenya. So I would say the most important moment that I had in Kenya was a time where, okay, cool. I had a flight booked back to the UK for 3 a.m. in the morning and it was going to London, right? So in my head, I knew, okay, cool. I only had a couple of hours left in Kenya. So I had to make sure that every moment, it was precious, What I decided to do was I went to a nightclub. I know, it's funny, right before my flight, right? And there was this moment that I had with a security guard. He was built, you can tell, we both go to the gym, So we was talking and so we just started a conversation from there. We just went on and on, we was talking for hours. It got to a point where I had to tell him that we need to leave, we're going to be late for our flight. Because the conversation we had was so valuable. It was so helpful. It was something that I needed in that moment. When something just happens in life that just wakes you up. Yeah, that moment was that for me, that was the moment. So to start with, he was talking about how he saw me checking out all these girls and he was just trying to give me advice. He was trying to say, look, if you want to take out a girl, you go to Navaisha. I don't know how you spell it. Navaisha? I think it's called Navaisha. I don't know. But yeah, he was talking about, take her to the countryside. Take her to Nakuru. Take her to Navaisha. And he was saying that she will love it. So he was giving me advice on dating, on talking to women in Kenya, because he's lived in Kenya for all his life. So he knows what he's talking about. He's not just talking for the sake of talking. He's talking from experience. And that helped me a lot, because as he was talking, it made me think about my future and about how I see life in Nairobi. How do I plan to live my life in Nairobi? Like, what type of life do I plan to live in Nairobi if I ever decide to settle down? Do I want to live a luxurious lifestyle, or do I want to live a lifestyle that I'm just happy with my life? And before this, I wasn't really thinking about starting a life in Africa or in Kenya. Before this, I was just still trying to find my way, trying to find out what country would fit me as a person. You know, what country do I see living in long term? And ever since I had that moment with the security guard, it just confirmed, you know, the reason why I want to move to Kenya. Another important moment that I had in Nairobi, Kenya, that was a valuable experience for me was that, you know, I must have seen a car break down on a road. Not a small road, a big road. You know, it must have been, and I must have seen about 5 local Kenyans pushing the car, working together to help, which was really helpful. And, you know, it's something that I look up to, you know, even till this day, you know, because if your car breaks down in the UK, yeah, no one is coming to help you. You probably have to wait about an hour to get help. So yeah, it's really different in terms of the level of support that you get. This just made me realize how important, you know, supporting each other, working together is, you know. Before I came to specifically Nairobi, I was afraid to, you know, do business or any sort of investment in Africa because I was afraid of people trying to scam me or people trying to take advantage of me. But when I saw the level of support that you get in Kenya, you know, people are always working together. It changed my perception about doing business in Africa. Like, sometimes it just takes that one moment for you to have a different perception about a country. I know some guys, some women out there have been to a country and their first day was always a horrible experience. But then as they got to know the people and as they got to know the country, they grew to love the country. And that is what happened to me when I was in Kenya. So experiencing these valuable moments has taught me so much in Kenya in terms of time. For example, when I was in Kenya, I made sure that I woke up every single day early. Like some days I would wake up 7, 6 a.m. because I wanted to make sure that every moment that I spent in Kenya was valuable and, you know, to make it count, you know. And I knew that in order for me to make that happen, I had to wake up early so that I can experience all these moments that I had in Kenya. People being friendly, people being welcoming, you know, because in the UK, I'm not used to that. Because in the UK, I'm not really used to people being friendly. So I knew that when I was in Kenya, I had to make sure that I witnessed every single day that I was happy, you know, because every moment in Kenya for me was a happy moment. So that's why I found time to be very valuable to me in terms of when I was in Kenya, when I was in Africa, because I knew that it's time that I would never get back. Because I know if I go back to the UK, I'm not going to experience the same thing, you know? This is why I encourage every single Black American, African American, anybody from the UK to come to Africa, to come to Kenya, so that they can witness the level of support. When you go to Kenya, you're going to feel appreciated and you're going to have that clarity that you've been waiting to have. All those times you've spent in the US and the UK that you felt like you never belonged. You know, when you come to Africa, when you come to Kenya, that just all goes away and you're going to finally have that clarity that you've needed in terms of wanting to feel a part of something, you know, a part of a culture that truly understands you, accepts you for who you are. So yeah, if you guys like videos like this, if you guys want to be inspired to make the move to the African continent, to Kenya, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and comment down what you think below. Peace.